bad.
What's up? Another episode of Rip Effect Podcast. Today isn't really an episode. It's just going to be a bonus episode. I was interviewed on... Well, I wasn't interviewed on anything. It wasn't really a show. It was a guy who connected with me on Facebook. And I thought he was a fan of the podcast, actually. He asked me to interview him. He was basically looking to interview people all over the world, and which I thought was intriguing. He just wanted to connect with different people all over the world, different backgrounds and different countries. And I really liked that he was curious and he wanted to do this thing. So I told him, yeah, absolutely, you can interview me. But I thought he was a listener to the podcast. Apparently, after the show, we ended up talking a little bit. I ended up typing to him because during the interview, I realized that he wasn't familiar with my show. So I'm like, well, how the hell did you find me on Facebook? And you live in Pakistan. So he ends up telling me that it was somebody else who suggested me. He had this idea of talking to people all over the world and interviewing tons of different people, and somebody suggested myself. So that's how it happened. So now he's hopefully going to check out the show and listen to it, but he actually wasn't familiar with me, which was a surprise to me because I'm like, how the hell? But that's the beautiful thing about the internet. People can just connect like this. And I give him a lot of props because if he listened to my show, I guess he could assume that I could hold a conversation, and he could assume that I have some interesting perspectives or opinions. But if he just thought I was a regular dude that somebody, just suggested, then I'm assuming, you probably are taking a little bit of a chance because it could be a really boring conversation if not everybody really has opinions or well thought out ideas on some of the questions he asked. But nonetheless, it was I think a somewhat interesting conversation, and I say somewhat because if I say it was interesting, then I'm kind of saying I was interesting because I was the one being interviewed. But I don't know how interesting I am. I'm interesting enough where people listen to this show, so I guess that says something. But I figured I'd share with you guys bonus content before the end of the year. And it was a friend of his who suggested myself. I'm assuming his friend was a fan of the podcast. I'm going to have to look into that because I'm just kind of curious now. But curiosity is what brought this conversation together. He was curious about talking to people, and I'm also a curious person. And that's the reason why I offer to do this, because I like and love anybody who's also passionate about just exploring and following their curiosity. So thanks again, guys. Enjoyed the show. Hopefully everybody's having a great holiday end of the year. It's a fun time of the year if you have kids. It's a fun time of the year if you don't have kids. A couple of friends of mine recently was saying how everybody seems to be in a miserable mood, but I actually think the opposite. I think a lot of people are in good moods because they're around family and friends and really focusing on giving and spending time with one another, which is stuff that we apparently need holidays to take time out of our busy schedule to do. So I think that this is probably a good thing that we're all spending a little bit more time with one another and being reminded that giving is much more enjoyable than getting. So that's it. Hopefully I have some shows for you. If I don't have any more shows before the end of the year, have a great holiday and great New Year's, and I'll see you guys in 2018. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, everybody who continues to listen to this show and has been supporters of the show. I really, really appreciate it. It slowly keeps growing, and hopefully I keep at it and it grows to the point where one day I can quit my shitty full-time job and I can talk to you guys for a living. So enjoy the show. And the beginning of the conversation, it's very standard questions, and his connection is poor, but both the connection and the conversation gets better. So don't bail on the conversation immediately in the beginning, please. It was a very fun conversation. I think you guys will enjoy it. And if you don't, send me hate mail and all that good stuff. And if you do enjoy it, then no need to tell me anything. I'm just going to assume that all the people who listen to it who don't send me hate mail actually did enjoy it. And appreciate the fact that he was willing to do this and just connect with somebody for the simple reason of being curious and wanting to hear other people's perspectives and opinions. And I think that's what the show is all about, or one of the things that the show is all about. So I think you listeners will definitely appreciate that. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one. Peace. Hey, how are you?
Hey. Thank you, sir. I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for your time, sir. Thank you very much.
Hey, no problem. Can you hear me good?
No problem. Yes, sir, please. So, sir, we should start with your name and your family, please. So, what's your name, sir?
Ricky Varandas. My full name is Ricardo Varandas, and my full name's actually Ricardo George Gomes Varandas, but my friends call me Ricky. Originally from Portugal.
Okay, sir. So you are originally born in US, right?
In the US?
Yeah.
No. I'm originally born in Portugal. I was born in Portugal and came to the US when I was 4 years old.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. So, you're married, sir?
What's that?
Married, sir? Are you married?
Yes, I am married. Yeah.
Okay. So how many children do you have?
I have 2 children.
Okay, sir. All one boy and a girl? Or
Yep. Yeah, I have 1 boy, 1 girl. My 2-year-old boy, and then he's almost 3, and then I have a 1.5-year-old girl.
Wonderful, sir. That's awesome. Okay, sir. So what do you do, sir? What's your profession? Are you a self-employed person, or do you do a job?
Yes, I'm. Well, we have a family-owned construction company. We have this little construction company. We do a lot of road construction. We do, concrete work, blacktop, curb work, stuff like that. And then part-time, I do my podcast. And we call it the Ripple Effect Podcast, which you can get anywhere you can get podcasts, and that's really my passion. That's something I absolutely love to do. And the construction thing is just you do what you have to do so you can do what you want to do. So you do certain jobs you might not enjoy as much, so you can pay the bills and keep going. But I think in the long run, my goal would be to probably podcast full time.
Okay, so that's awesome. So the construction company, have you started the company, or is it your family business?
Yeah, it's a family business. My parents and I started it right after I left high school, and so right after high school we started the company, and been in business since. So it's been roughly around 2003, 2004, roughly is when we started the company.
Okay, that's awesome. So the parents still support you in business, or you are the sole owner at the time?
Yeah, my parents are the owner of the company. Yeah, officially.
Okay, so that's awesome. Okay. Sir, are you a religious believer?
Am I a religious believer?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm religious. I was raised a Catholic, being Portuguese and being Western European. Usually, you're raised Catholic. You do the first communion, you do all that stuff. But as I got older, I got away from it, and I didn't like really the way Catholics were kind of hypocritical with their beliefs. You know, they say they believed one thing and then acted a different way, and there's a lot of stuff about the religion that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So I started asking a lot of questions, and then now I'm kind of, you know, I have friends that are Muslim, I have friends that are Jewish, I have friends that are Catholic, Christian, Protestant, everything,
Okay.
but personally, I wouldn't say. I'd say that I'm unsure. I'm not sure. I don't subscribe to any religion per se, but religion in general, I have mixed feelings about. But just believing in a higher power or that there's something more, I would say I'm probably unsure. Haven't really decided yet. I think that there's too much information, and it's impossible for anybody to know who's right or who's wrong, and to be sure of anything. So I try not to pick a side.
Okay. Okay, so it means you believe in God, you do not believe in religion, because there are so many and they're all different from each other.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can put it that way. Yeah. I mean, I believe there's definitely something more than we understand. And, you know, people who are, you know, I guess a lot of people use the word, they're spiritual or whatnot, you know, words like that, trying to describe the fact that they might not be into religion and something as organized as religion, but it doesn't mean that they don't believe in something more than maybe beyond the reality that we understand. And I probably fit into that box also. I probably have very similar perspectives.
Okay, sir. That's good. Okay. So, sir, can I ask what makes you connect with God? You say you believe in a higher power. There should be a higher power. So, what makes you connected with the higher power? Why you believe in this way?
Why do I believe in a higher power? Is that the question?
That's what I'm asking. But yeah, exactly.
Well, I think there's a lot of things we just don't understand. I think there's a lot of things that we humans can't completely explain. I mean, there's just so many unanswered questions from the beginning of civilization, from how did the Egyptians know how to build the pyramids, and all the old structures we find, and then everything from like the placebo effect and all these weird things that we don't quite understand, and epigenetics and all these weird. And I think because there's so much that we still don't understand, it's I guess it's natural to think that there might be something bigger than us, something, to think that everything is simple as
so there's something like supernatural.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I try not to use the word supernatural, but it probably is the right word to use, because when you use supernatural, you think, spirits or ghosts or something like that. But it's, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff. I mean, supernatural might be the right word to use, just because it's something beyond our natural world, what we understand. And I mean, I just think that even science, for example, is constantly changing. It's constantly finding new things, and things that they thought they understood, they find out they don't understand, and there's more to it. And so it makes you wonder, like, okay, what else is out there? Are we the center of the universe? Are we not the center of the universe? Can we possibly be the only living intelligent species in all the galaxies and universes in the world? Where did this all start? Why did it all start? Is there a reason why? There's so many unanswered questions that I think that it's hard for me to think there's not more. That there's not more than just, we're just humans and we die and then that's it. And so, I mean, I definitely can't say that I have the answers, or I know what is right or what's wrong, or what theory makes more sense or less sense. But I definitely think that people who are closed-minded and say, "Oh, it's I don't believe in this or I don't believe in that," and it just I don't see how they can be sure of anything, because every time we think we're sure of something, new information comes out that proves that we're wrong. So I think that I like to stay open-minded and look at all opinions and perspectives and philosophies and theories and
staying open-minded and accepting everything which looks better and more acceptable.
yeah.
Okay, sir. So please don't be worried about my accent and my language. English is not my language, so there may be problems in making understand what I want to say. So please don't mind it.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I mean, my parents don't speak any English, so I'm around people all the time that speak broken English. So I'm pretty good at understanding it. And English wasn't my first language either. But you live in Pakistan? Yeah, your English.
Yes, I'm from.
Your English is very good for somebody.
I don't think you know about Pakistan.
What's that?
Gilgit-Baltistan, so that is not Pakistan. That's a disputed region, just like Palestine, just like.
Oh, okay. And you live there your whole life?
Yeah, so it's sorry, sir, I didn't understand. What you asked, sir?
Oh, you grew up there and lived there your whole life? Your whole life?
Yes, sir. I grew there.
Oh, I think we lost you. Hello?
Hello, sir.
Oh, it's okay. I think we lost the connection. Yeah.
Yes, sir. The connection was poor here.
Yeah. The internet isn't very good there.
Yes, sir. So I was talking about my region. It's basically a very mountainous region, covered all over from big mountains. All are dry mountains, now beautiful, like there in Germany and other beautiful countries. So it's a mountainous region in the third world in Pakistan, in the subcontinent.
Oh, nice. Have you ever been to America?
No, sir, I've never. But I really want to go there.
Yeah, it's funny because I mean, America's full of interesting things, but I think when you go overseas, when you go to places in the Middle East, Europe, there's just as much beauty there as there is, in America. I know America everybody has this dream of coming to America, but I know when my parents came to America, they came here for work, and they didn't want to stay here.
No doubt, definitely, America is the greatest country, no doubt, the very much developed country in the world.
Yeah, and there's reasons for that. I mean, them raping other countries of their resources and stuff like that has been helpful. They don't have the cleanest history when it comes down to military and geopolitics and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely. The one thing you can't say about America, if you're lucky enough to be born in America, you're probably much better off than other places. But there's the thing is that a lot of the stability that there is in other places, sometimes America has a reason for that. They're one of the reasons to why places in the Middle East or in Central America and South America, or even Ukraine right now, they're a part of destabilizing countries all over the world. And that's one of those things where the way you said something that was interesting, like you believe in God but you don't believe in religion. I believe in American people, but I don't believe in American government. It's kind of the same thing where I love American. Some of my best friends were raised here, and it's a beautiful country because I have friends who are from all over the place. I meet people from Pakistan, I meet people from Lebanon, from El Salvador, Russia, Estonia, Italy, wherever, and it's beautiful because it is a melting pot with a lot of different cultures. But when it comes down to our foreign policy and it comes down to our politics, it doesn't represent the country, and there's a lot of
Then
great.
the interests, then the personal, then the country interests are more superior than the per people. So yeah, it's everywhere like that.
Yeah, yeah. So
Every country has its own interests in the world. So they don't just accept other people when the time is of to check their personal interests.
oh yes, I mean every country does look after themselves, and I mean I understand why and I get it, but I think when you're the most powerful country like the U.S. is, and you're basically the world empire, you can get away with much more than other countries. And what I mean by that, you can get away with much more violence, much more unjustified wars, and much more crime than other countries. And I know we try to sell the idea that we're the policemen of the world, that we're going around trying to protect people. But the truth is, like you said, they're just looking after self-interest. They don't care about protecting anybody except themselves. And it's just the truth. I mean,
Yeah, that's true, sir. No doubt.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah. So you got some more questions?
Good. Yes, sir. I have. If you have time.
Yeah, I have. I still have a little bit of time. Yeah.
Okay. I want to know from you, how do you think about the population of the planet nowadays? It's more than 7 billion people. How we can decrease the population, or how we can control the birth, which is very much rising in a very great numbers, uncontrollable. So how can we do it, sir, in your opinion?
Well, I don't even think the population is as big of an issue as we make it out to be. I think, and I know this is kind of a different perspective, because a lot of people think that the population is too big. But if you travel over countries, if you ever flown in a plane, there's miles and miles and acres of land where there's nobody living there. Even in America, I live in Massachusetts, and I mean, there's places in Massachusetts where there's nobody living there. It's just small little communities or small little towns. So I think a lot of people believe that population needs to shrink because we're running out of places for people to live. But what we need to do is that everybody kind of migrates to the same places. Everybody goes to Boston, New York City, California. Like, everybody goes to the same spots. But in between all that, there's tons of land and tons of places where people could live. We just have to build communities. We have to build, work and schools and build these communities. But same thing with food. It's kind of a similar conversation. People always talk about, well, how do we feed everybody? The population's going too high. But 50% of food gets thrown away. Restaurants throw away their food at the end of the day. Bakeries throw away their food at the end of the day. A lot of people throw away leftovers. So there's tons of food that gets thrown away that could be feeding people all over the world. And same thing with trees. In America, a lot of cities and towns are constantly, trying to plant trees and this and that. Why not plant fruit trees? Why not plant trees that people, if you want food, you can go and pick at it and have food? So I think we have to reanalyze and rethink the population issue. Is the issue we have too many people, or is the issue that we have too many people living all in the same area, and we have too many people all congested in New York, in the cities like New York and LA and stuff like that? And if we I know it's a different perspective and opinion than most people, because I think most people do believe that we have too much
So
population.
you have the best views about this, sir. I really had not thought about how would you respond. You are responding very differently and very uniquely. You have very great views upon it, sir.
Thank you.
Really great views about it. Okay, sir. Thank you. So, have you time, sir?
Yeah, I still have some time. Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, I have a question about the development of the West as compared to the East. I mean Asia and other African countries. So how can we make it equal? How can we make the development in both the areas equal? How can the East be competent with the West?
Now, you're asking. Well, I think when you talk about East, you talk about like China and stuff like that. I think they are competing. You know, I think they are competing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and
China, Japan, Singapore, and they're no doubt they're way ahead of all the other countries.
yeah, and so what you're saying? How does the East, as in those countries, compete with like the West, like Western Europe and America?
By competing, no, sir, by competing, I mean, how can the development be equal to the West? How can we develop to the levels of the US and the Europe and other such countries, sir?
Well, I think we have to look at why, right? We have to look at why aren't they developing at the rate that these other countries are. And I think this goes back to what we were just talking about. I think a lot of it has to do with foreign policy. I think there's a reason why places like, places in the Middle East, places in Africa that have tons of natural resources, right? There's oil, there's cobalt, there's all this stuff, minerals, and yet these countries are poor. And why are they
Yeah.
poor? And then there's countries like America and England that they don't make anything. They don't export anything. They don't make anything, but yet they're rich. And why is that? And that's because they steal from the other countries. And I think one of the, and
Okay, sir. Agree.
I mean, would you agree with? I mean, you probably have more of a better opinion on this than I do because living in the Middle East. Do you? I mean,
I do agree, 100% agree, sir. I am 100% agreeing with you.
yeah,
No doubt. The situation is same like what you're saying. They're just stealing. They're not doing by themselves. The people. I am living in Islamabad at the moment. I have come here recently. I live with 8 persons now. 8 persons are here with me. All are young persons from 18 to 30 years of age, and none of them is doing anything. Just going to college for 2 or 3 hours and coming back, and they just sleep and do nothing. So I know the nature of the people and what they do and what they don't know. You're right, sir. I agree. No problem.
yeah. I think that it's like every issue. I mean, you have to get to the root cause of the issue, and I don't think that poor places in the Middle East or poor places in Africa, they're poor just because the people aren't as intelligent as the West. I don't think it's because they don't have resources or ways of making money. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you look at the long history of the West from the fall of the Ottoman Empire. When the West carved up the Middle East, created Syria, created all these countries. I think that those effects are still, that ripple is still having an effect in the Middle East today, and I think they want the Middle East and they want places like Africa to never be stable. They don't want it to be stable. They don't want it to be. And when I say they, I think I mean corporations, international corporations. I think Western governments. They don't want them to be stable because it always justifies us going in there and taking their stuff. It's easier to control a country that has internal fighting and it's destabilized and it is a mess than it is a country like maybe Iran or a country like North Korea that has nuclear weapons, or whatnot. There's a reason why those countries haven't been invaded yet. You look at Libya. They invaded Libya. They invaded Iraq because they knew they could, because they didn't have nuclear weapons. And that's what happens. And then those countries are a mess today. Libya's a mess. Libya's destabilized. Libya's. People don't talk about Libya enough. People don't talk about how bad Iraq is. All these places that the West are to blame for it. They're to blame for it. And then when people talk about, these refugees that go to these, Syrian refugees and other refugees that go to Europe, or they go to, they try to come to America, and people complain about it. How can you complain about it when a lot of times the countries they're trying to get into are the ones to blame for why they're leaving their country? They're the ones to blame for why Libya is a mess. They're the ones to blame for why Syria is a mess. And then they wonder what, and then they get mad when people are looking for a safer home, a place to live where there isn't rebels and internal fighting and civil war. So, yeah, I think it's complicated issues, but I think foreign policy has a lot to do with it. I think Western foreign policy is the reason why a lot of these countries in the Middle East and Africa are not as rich as they should be and not as stable as they should be. And history, I think when you look at history and their influence on African and Middle Eastern politics, you'll see that it's true.
Okay, sir. Great. So, a last question from you, sir.
Yeah.
Which is, there are many political systems, like in China, there is socialism. In Russia, there was communism, and I think still there is communism or a type of socialism type something. So, and in Western countries, there is capitalism. How do you compare this system, political systems, and which one do you think can serve the world better and is serving the world better?
Well, I think that's a really hard question, but I think it's a question that needs to be asked and a question that people need to talk about, because I think that we look at other countries that were socialist countries. When I left Portugal, well, actually it happened much longer before I left Portugal. But when my parents were growing up, they had a dictator in Portugal, and it was Salazar, and it was a socialist country. And a lot of Central American countries were socialist countries. South American countries.
So, was the Portugal a socialist country at the time when your parents left the country?
Yes, and they still are very. If you had to pick,
I did not know this, sir.
Yeah, and a lot of Western countries are, and Western European countries. And the thing is that there's flaws in socialism, but there's also flaws in capitalism. And that's the thing. People, similar to religion or diet or nutrition or whatever, a lot of people pick teams, and then they think every issue is black or white. And I don't know if you're familiar with that slogan, that saying, but what I mean by black or white is they think that everything's as simple as picking black or white, like that there's only two answers. There's either a right answer or a wrong answer. And what I think, I think there's a gray area, and I think that when you look at socialism, right, even in Western countries like America, we consider ourselves a capitalist country, and we say we're great and powerful because of capitalism. But you look at it, we have some of the worst health care. Our medical bills are very expensive. But we have, so you look at capitalism hasn't helped with that, and we have, some of the countries like Canada that have universal health care, where it's, a socialist idea where they have universal health care. It's not perfect either, but it's much cheaper. They spend less on it, and I think overall it's probably a better option. And capitalism,
because probably the population of the Canada is much smaller than the US. Maybe it's a reason.
What's that?
It may be a reason that the population of Canada is much smaller than the US.
Maybe, but a lot of Western countries. The thing is that we have to look at what type of country, what type of culture, what type of society do we want? And I don't think it's hard to believe that capitalism is the answer, because you look at Karl Marx and Marxism, and a lot of people talk about that, and I think a lot of people talk about it without really knowing what he believes or whatnot. And I'm not a Marxist and I'm not a socialist, but I think there's things that are good about it. I think the fact that somebody who's poor, or somebody who is disabled, or somebody who has medical issues, if we all help each other out, I think that's a good idea. I think that in our hearts we're good people, and I think I think our first reaction is, our first instinct is to help one another. But you look at like a lot of people in America who say, you know, they don't like socialism. They're the same people who don't understand that police officers, for example, police officers is a socialist idea. The way that we have police officers in America, we all pitch in with our tax money, and we have this service. That's a socialist idea. What we also have fire department. You know, my house catches on fire, the fire department comes. Who pays them? We all pay them. It's a socialist idea. Socialism is we all pitch in for a service, and so police officers, a fireman, the postal service. Same thing with the postal service. When you get your mail brought to your house, that's a socialist idea. We all pitch in. So we like some socialist ideas. And so I think, you know, I guess my point is that I think the answer isn't capitalism, it isn't socialism, but it's probably a mixture of all of them. Because even communism, you look at communism, you look at like all the different philosophies, there's things about them, like even if you don't agree with the whole idea, there's little things about them that alone make sense and you might agree with. And then there's other things where, you know, you might disagree with, but that's the way you should be with all ideas, right? I mean, we shouldn't just say, hey, I'm for capitalism and that's it, and not look at other ideas and not look at other perspectives. I think that's kind of a dangerous way of thinking, and I think it's really important to look at all the different aspects of it. And I think the other thing too is that a lot of people's opinions on socialism or capitalism or communism is based on what governments and what history has you know molded us to believe. So, for example, socialism. America for a long time has been anti-socialism. So a lot of people grow up being anti-socialism just because America says it's bad, you know, and we went around fighting socialist governments. And same thing with communism. Same thing, you know. So a lot of people will say they dislike communism without really knowing what communism is. And so I think that's an issue too. I think people need to be they need to be educated on what these philosophies are. They need to be and honestly, like, you know, I hate to say it, but I mean, socialism probably is not the worst of things. You know, this is the argument about socialism, okay, is that a lot of people believe that if we all pitch in and help each other out, that people will be lazy, right? That people will stop working. Nobody will go to work because we're all getting, because have you heard conversations about you know, like I forget what they call it, but it's like a income, you know, you get an income every month for living, you know. There's people who, you know, there's countries that have talked about, and I don't know if they've done it, but they've talked about the idea of maybe, you know, socialist countries talked about everybody getting income for nothing. You just get income, enough money to live. So you get money to pay for your shelter, and you get money to pay for your food, and that's it. And people, it's like universal income or whatever. And people have talked about how, like, oh, people will be lazy if you do that. Nobody will go to work. But I don't believe that. I think internally we want to do things. We want to create. We want to use imagination. We want to be productive. Because you look at it, for example, you look at multimillionaires, rich people, for example. Rich people, why do they get up every morning and still go to work when they're already rich? If their motivation was only to get money, and now that they have money, why do they continue to get up and make more money? And that's because I think we're internally motivated. And a lot of rich people are the ones who say, oh, if we have a socialist country, everybody will be lazy, nobody will do. But I don't believe that. I think the school systems in America, and I can't speak for the rest of the world because I'm not as familiar, but at least in America, I think the school systems have created people who are less creative, less.
I have a question about socialism and how the income or the money changes, or money makes something better or worse. For example, if we have $10 million and $10 million we give to a single person, and the other $10 million we distribute among some 20%. So which which is the best way to distribute them among the 20 people, or to give it to a single person? If we give them to the single person, he can make some good difference in the surroundings, in his society. The other 20 people who will get a bit small part of it. So what do you think? How do you see this?
Well, I think, I think that, it probably, I don't know. It is a hard question, and it's a hard question to answer. You never. I think in theory, it seems like it would make sense that if we could create people, like like I was talking about our school system, and this starts back at our school systems. Like if our school systems were creating people or helping people be creative and do what they're passionate for. Do what you love. Do what you're passionate for, and push people to do that. Then, if we're giving everybody money, like you said in your example, if everybody was getting a cut of the money, then you would use that money to only further your passion, to only further what you love to do. But if we're creating people in schools that are they don't have critical thinking skills. They don't look at things outside the box. They're just, very boring when it comes down to intellectual passions to be curious and want to understand the world. Then I think, that's what maybe giving everybody money isn't gonna do any good. But if we can change the culture, because I think naturally we all want to be creative. When you look at children, for example, they all want to play with blocks. They want to play. They want to color. They want to. They play. They can take some sticks and rocks and make up a game. We're all creative. And then as we get older, we end up working these jobs that we don't need to be creative for, and we stop being creative. But if we started pushing kids into continued being creative, do the things they love, then. I think that if everybody got a cut of the money, people would still continue coming up with great ideas and contributing to the world and contributing in a positive way. Some of the greatest thinkers you look at whatever your favorite music is, whatever your favorite poem is, whatever your favorite song is, your favorite scientist. All these people were motivated. They weren't motivated by money. They did what they loved because they loved doing it. So you look at Nikola Tesla. You look at.
I agree. Yeah.
That's
the point.
Yeah. People are motivated by doing what they love. For example, I love podcasting. I have the construction company, but I don't like doing the construction company. I love podcasting. If I could do it for a living, I would, and I'll keep trying to do that as long as I can. But I'm motivated to do it. I don't make any money doing it. I do it because I love talking to people. I love sharing ideas. I love learning and growing. And I think a lot of people are like that. And I think a lot of people get caught up in, maybe you have kids young, maybe you end up having debt. You do these things that kind of make you have to go to work and continue doing a job, so you can't really pursue other passions. But if we could create a system and a culture in a society where we push people to pursue passions and everybody was getting a cut of the money, we would still have amazing thinkers who are coming up with the newest technology and the best music and all this stuff. So it is a tough question, because people do make the argument, if you give everybody a cut, will people just be lazy? Will people just sit home and do nothing? And but I don't think that it's that simple. I don't think most people would do that. I think most people, if you sit home long enough, you're going to go crazy and you're going to want to go out and do something. You want to go and accomplish something, or you want to go hang out with people and share ideas. So that's kind of my opinion. I think that right now, the way we've created a system in America now where you go to school and they really don't provoke thinking. They provoke just memorizing. They provoke just memorize this information to pass the test, and then you pass your test, and that's it. But they don't push kids to be creative and think, and I think that's an issue, because those kids are going to grow up to be boring, and they're going to grow up and not know how to be creative. But if you push kids to be creative, and then as adults you're giving them this money, then they're going to be creative with that money, and that's kind of what I think.
Lovely answer, sir. Okay. I usually talk with a lot of people every day, but and I find that they have specific reasons and views about different things which are not flexible. They do not want any change in them. But your concerts are really awesome. You have a really flexible approach, sir. I'm really completely outclassed. I can't say anything about
Well,
this interview. This was a really great interview I have ever had.
thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. What are you doing these interviews for? Are you just doing it to just learn? Or are you doing it for a project? Are you doing it for just for personal reasons?
Sir, there are many reasons, personal reasons as well, and you can say it's like a project for me. I want to interview as many people as I can in these 7 to 10 days I have, so that I can learn from all different people from all around the world. From mostly, I want to interact with the people of Europe and America. So you are one of them, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate that.
Basically, sir, I'm a bachelor's student. I grow strawberries as well. So I like growing strawberries more than studying. And so most of my time I spend in my strawberry farms.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. My family were farmers, and I think there's something relaxing about farming and being around nature, and being around plants, and I think people who
Yes,
live.
sir.
I think
It's really
people.
awesome. It's really
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's therapy. I think people who live in cities are probably they spend too much time around machines and not enough time around nature, and I think it helps with mentally. It helps with just being sane and just therapy and relaxing, and same thing with like running outside. Running outside's much more fun than going to a gym and running on a treadmill. I think having a picnic outside, people like having picnics outside. Same thing. I think being around grass, being around trees,
Yes.
and I think it's very relaxing. So
Yeah, many people from the cities come to Baltistan, and I usually bring many people to my farms and make them visit my farm. They were really happy. I serve them fresh fruits when there's a season, and we also make jams and juices and shakes as well, and we sell them in the local markets.
awesome. That's great. Yeah. I get a lot of my vegetables and stuff from my parents. My parents have a garden at their house, and where my family's from northern Portugal, and they're all farmers. So I have a long history of farmers in the Varandas family. So it's cool. I think it's something very relaxing and something very nice to still be connected with nature and plants, and we're all on this earth together. So I think it's nice to be connected with all that.
Actually, what I see is it makes the persons connected with the culture and with the nature. They are humble in nature. They are very helpful, and they are with innocent. They can't hurt any person.
Yeah,
What I have seen from my experience.
I think I have to agree with you. I think that a person who lives in a city is very different than a person who lives on a farm, and I think that I would rather that person who lives on a farm is more likely to help you out if you need help. Is more likely to give you food, to just to be nicer. And maybe it's not in all cases, but I think that there's something about being around. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's being around nature. I don't know if it's because when you live on a farm, you all help each other out, and it's more of a community. Where when you live in a city, it's all about.
Actually, sir, the population in the villages and in far away regions is not that much, and the people mostly are still alone. They do work alone. As we are only 4 or 5, we are only with only in a group of 4 or 5 people. So we don't have time to go around the city and interact with a lot of people, and to experience the noise of the traffic, and to experience the bad experiences of the officers in
Hey, I lost you again.
yes, I don't know so what's the problem. Actually, the connection here is not good, I think.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that you're absolutely right. I think there's something about, the other thing too about in Portugal, and I don't know if it's similar where you grew up, but in Portugal, farmers would one farmer would trade, like, oh, I give you some tomatoes, you give me some cucumbers, and so everybody kind of helped each other out. And I think it creates this community where when you live in a city, you go to your job, you're in front of a computer, you only care about yourself. And it kind of creates I think it probably makes a more selfish person compared to living in a community, in a kind of farm type of community. So
Yes, and the busy life does not allow the persons to interact with other people and to help them and all that.
yeah,
But
and
the people are same, and the work and their business are different. So their attitude, their behavior also becomes different.
yeah,
I
and
think.
I think you made a really important point. I think their busy lives has a lot to do with it, because the other thing too is, when you live on a farm, you kind of go at you work hard, but you don't have the stress that you have working at a corporation where you have to get things done by this time, and then you got to hurry up and do this, and you got to make sure you get to work at 7, and you got to make sure your break's only half an hour, and all these stresses, and that it can really add up.
That's right.
And I think that type of chaotic lifestyle is not healthy. And I also think that a lot of times you're so busy, you don't have time to reflect, and you don't have time to think about, what you want in life, how you're acting or reacting, and all the things that I think are so important. So I completely agree with you. I think that the busy lifestyle, it's maybe when you're young, and you want to meet girls, or you want to go out and have fun and go to the discotheque and
Okay, I'm a young person, but I don't do all that, sir.
but you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of young people, when they're young, they like the idea of a city because it has a lot of energy. You can meet a lot of people, stuff like that. But I think as you get older, and maybe not you, because you seem like you don't have to get older to learn this. But I think a lot of people, it takes time, and it takes only with age do they learn that they're actually happier in a small community, on a farm or in a place like that than they are in a city with the chaos. And so I think some people learn at a younger age than others. And even myself, when I was young, I thought a city was a cool idea. I thought, oh yeah, a city would be cool because there's always something going on. There's all these people. I can meet people. I can date. I can go out and party. And I think as you get older, you realize, like, oh, that doesn't really make me happy. That stuff makes me happy for a little bit, but then it goes away. But the things that really make me happy is my friends and family and the community, and those are the things that make me happy. And that's why you meet people in who live in these small communities who are very happy, but they don't have a lot of material things, but they're happy. And then you meet people who live in cities like New York or somewhere in England where they're making all this money and they're unhappy. And they have nice cars, they have a big house, all this stuff, but they're unhappy, and because of all the anxiety and depression, all the stuff that's caused by the factors that we were talking about. So I think that we have to rethink what really makes us happy, and who's really better off, the people who live in a farm community or the people who live in the city. And I think that the people who live in the small community are probably much better off when you look at the research.
Yeah, sir. Actually, it doesn't matter where you are. The matter that what's important is to be happy and to be passionate about what you're doing. And if you're doing what we want to do, what we love to do, it's fine. And if you're happy, it's more fine. So it doesn't matter if you're in a city or if you're in a village or wherever you are. I agree with you, sir.
No, I agree. I think that finding something you're passionate about and you love is will definitely lead to happiness, and that's a good thing to pursue. But I also think that sometimes you can get so caught up in doing something that you think makes you happy, that you still need a little bit of community. You need a little bit, like for example, this conversation, right? Like I you know, we're having a enjoyable conversation. Some people might do a job that they're passionate about, but not. It might be a job they can do alone. You know, maybe it's writing music. You might love music. You might love writing music, but you still need every once in a while. You need some friends. You need some family. Things are much. You can enjoy things by yourself, or you can enjoy the same things with other people. And if you're enjoying something with people you love, it's much more enjoyable than enjoying something by yourself. And so I think
Yes, sir.
I think you're right. I think that if you're doing what you love, you're going down the right path. And but I also think that there's people can't forget how important it is to because we're
Yes.
social
Yeah,
creatures.
I agree, sir. I agree. The surroundings and the society and the environment matters a lot, sir. No doubt.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're social creatures. We're you go all the way back to our hunter gatherer ancestors. You know, we were always in tribes, and we we're always around one another. And I think that even today, as much as we try to be independent and pretend we don't need anybody, we might not need anybody in regards to food or money, but we need people in regards to happiness. And I think that that's an important thing.
Yes. Yes, sir. You're right. So, do you make foreign trips every year, sir, or have you been to many other countries as well?
Yeah, I mean,
have you been ever to any country in Asia?
Yeah, I've been to Western Europe, but we used to go back to my parents and I used to go back to Portugal every other year. So one year we wouldn't go, and then another year we would, and so every time we would go there, we'd go there for like 6 weeks or 8 weeks. So we'd be there for a long time. So I have a lot of good memories in Portugal, and a lot of fun hanging out with my family, and but it was nice too to go back because my parents were born in a place where there was no running water. People didn't have electricity, and it's nice to remember where they came from and what they worked hard for. Because right now we're not rich. My family's not rich, but if you look at where they came from, they look like they're rich. They look coming from a place where there was no running water, and now they have a house that has heat and electricity and a TV and all that stuff. I mean, they look like kings and queens compared to where they came from. So I think that it was nice to go back and remember where they came from, and I think that's why I have a lot of immigrant friends, because I think there's a connection immigrants have with one another. With
all of them were in search of a better life, and
yeah, they have that similarity. They all have that similarity. Like I said, I have friends from all over the world: Lebanese friends, Polish friends, and friends that that like myself that aren't born in America. They came to America later in life, and we all connect, and we all connect because we have, even though we're different with like what we eat or maybe what religion they were raised in or things like that, but we're all very similar when it comes down to being family oriented and understanding the
immigrant families, sir.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's the thing that America loses. America might be good in a lot of things, but one thing that we lose, and one thing that we don't have that other countries have, is community and culture. And we don't have community and culture here. People come to America and they want to make money, and then that's all they do. They make money, and then they forget what really makes them happy. They forget about family and community and culture. And I think those things are very important because, and I think that we should celebrate them all, because every culture, and I've learned a lot from my friends about different cultures and different parts of the world. And one thing I love about different nationalities and different cultures is that they all have beautiful things about them. I love Spanish music. I love Arabic music. I love all different types of food. South American food. Jamaican food. You learn all these different things, and every culture has beautiful things about it. And I think that's really important to not dislike somebody because they're different than you, but try to appreciate what makes them different, and you realize that every culture has beautiful things about them. You know, I grew up, you know, on Portuguese food and Portuguese music, but I love other cultures. I love, you know, I was talking about my Lebanese friends. I mean, not too long ago we were hanging out at a hookah bar, and you know, the hookah bar closed, and we're hanging out after hours, and we're dancing to Arabic music, and we're smoking hookah, and we're eating lamb, and it was a great experience. I loved it, and I love that just coming together and enjoying and appreciating a culture. And I think every culture has beautiful things. So, you know, for example, I have a friend who his wife was born in Germany, but her family is from Iraq. And he's Polish, and at their wedding, it was kind of a cool wedding, because at their wedding they had music. So one song would be Arabic music for his wife's family, who's from Iraq, and then the next song would be polka, Polish music for the Polish family. So they would go back and forth, and every time there's Arabic music, all the Iraqi people would come on the dance floor and dance and do their thing. And then when there's Polish music, all the Polish people come up and dance. But it was cool because by the end of the night, the Polish people are trying to dance to the Arabic music, and vice versa. So but everybody's appreciating the cultures, you know. So I think I love stuff like that. Stuff like that is beautiful to me. It's beautiful to see everybody come together and enjoy one another like that. I think it's a great experience, and it's fun to see stuff like that. So
yes, yeah. So I agree, sir. We should welcome each other's cultures and appreciate our good and what we share in each other's.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
That's okay, sir. So what about making a trip towards Asia, sir? If you have any plans.
I you know, it's funny because my Lebanese friends, we keep talking about, you know, going to Lebanon, and I love different cultures. And the thing about Western Europe, you know, if I go to Spain, France, Italy, the culture is very similar to Portuguese culture. You know, we all drink wine. You know, the language is similar. But if you go to an Asian culture, or you go to, you know, an African culture, it's very different, and that's what I love about it. I like to experience something that's completely different than what I'm used to. So I definitely one day would love to travel outside of Europe or North America and go to somewhere that's completely different than what I'm used to, and experience that, because even just the little samples I've gotten of Arabic culture and just being around my friends here, and you know, I love it. I mean, I love just
and also don't forget Gilgit-Baltistan, sir.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. You gonna stay there for a while, or you ever have any motivations to move or go travel anywhere, or?
Sorry, sir, I did not understand. Please, can you repeat?
Yeah. Do you plan on staying where you are, or have you also thought about traveling and maybe going to somewhere else?
Till today, I have no any plans. I have no any ideas but I want to travel a lot. So, but the problems, the financial issues, you know, we are in a backward country. If I want to come to US, I have to spend some more than $20,000 to $30,000, which in Pakistani rupees they are in millions. So it's not easy for us to travel to US or any European country, but maybe in future, if the destiny wishes, I would love to move somewhere and travel around the world as well. But yeah, at the moment, it's not possible.
Well, that's the thing. It is very expensive. You know, that's the thing about traveling. Yeah. No, absolutely. But the nice thing about the internet is that you can do things like this, right? You can connect with people all over the world, and you know, it's same thing, you know, like my podcast. I get people who listen to my podcast all over the world, and it's you know, my radio show. And you know, you look at it like a long time ago when people listen to you on the radio, it was only people who lived nearby who was listening to you. And now you can have a show on the internet, and everybody all over the world can listen to it. And I get people downloading all over the world. I get people downloading from Central America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and blows my mind.
Sir, please, can you send me a link of your show, please, sir? If
Yeah,
it is,
absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you a link to my podcast. You can listen to it online and you know, check it out. If I have a lot of really interesting guests on, and hopefully you know you enjoy it.
Okay, sir. Sure. Thank you, sir. I would be really happy to have it. Please send it to me, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And sir, if you want to know about Gilgit-Baltistan, you can ask me if you have time. If you don't have time, you can later on check it out on Google or on Wikipedia. You can learn a lot about this region. It's a beautiful mountainous region. You would love to have a trip here.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen
future
pictures.
You want to, or if you plan to do so.
I've seen pictures, and it's beautiful mountains, and it really is a beautiful place. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay.
And so
So
what I could do is I'm thinking of maybe releasing this interview. I could release it on my podcast and share it with my listeners, and figured it was a pretty
okay, sir.
it was a pretty cool conversation. How did you learn about myself?
So you're a really great person. I can be a very frank with you, I think, and everybody can be a friend of you. Be frank, and I can share anything with you. So you're really open-minded. You're a very friendly in nature. What I have concluded from this interview, very much open-minded, very much flexible in your thoughts, in your approach. Fit for every culture, every society. So I think I suppose, and I am sure that you will be a great person in the way you are, in where you are, and for your family and for your society. This is what I have concluded from my interview, sir.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Those are really kind words, and I definitely.
You're welcome, sir. You're welcome.
I try to. I think the one thing that I have that you also have, that I think is the reason why this conversation happened, is we're both very open-minded and curious, and I think being curious is very important. I think we should we should explore different ideas and explore different people and different theories and philosophies.
Yes, actually, one thing also I want to tell you, I have no any specific idea about religion, just like you have. I don't believe in any specific religion, that this is the right, this is the certain religion which has the best way towards the God and to get the Jannat or to get the heaven or something like that. I don't believe. We should be helpful for each other, for the people, for open-minded for all things, but we should not deny that there is some God or there is some supernatural power or high power. There may be a high power and which might be watching us. So yeah, we should agree and we should disagree both at the same time. So open-minded for all the thoughts, all the new ideas, all the new experiments, observations, whatever they are. We should not be fixed at something. This is what my opinion is, sir.
No, I completely agree. I absolutely. I think that anytime you think that you have the answer, I think you become very closed-minded, and you already stop listening or seeing any new information or anybody else's opinions or perspectives. And I think that's a very dangerous way of thinking. I think it's important to look at everything.
This is what the religious persons in Muslim countries nowadays are doing. They are just killing, that they are the only right people and they have the right to kill others. This is what they're doing because they don't answer, they don't question. They think that they are the answer and they are the question both at the same time. They are the judges, they are the advocates, they are the counselors, they are everything they are, and they think that they have the responsibility to change the world in the way they want. So this is what happens when we stop questions and when we stop being flexible in our thoughts and our views. So this is just simple. We should use our own mind. We should be open-minded. We have a brain, we have a mind to think, so we should use it.
No, I completely agree. But I think that a lot of those people who are closed-minded and pushing closed-minded ideas on other people, they're trying to control them. It's all about control. I think that it's it's like you're either with us or you're against us, and you're trying to control people, and I think it sucks because. But I think you can only fight it for so long because we have the internet. People are going to go online. They're going to see different perspectives, different ideas, different conversations like this conversation. And hopefully people will be much more open-minded and learn different things and realize that, there isn't just one answer. There's a lot of answers, and there's even more questions than there are answers. And I think that we need to explore those things. Did I lose you again? So I lost them. But that's the end of the interview. I'll just type a little message to him and talk to him. But hopefully you guys enjoy it. The connection wasn't great, but I figured I'd share this interview with you. Why not? Somebody wanted to interview me, and figured some of the conversation must be a little bit interesting. So a little bonus content before the end of the year, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.